Hey, what's going on, everybody? Christopher Inks with TexasWest Capital coming at you all live here. What is it? Just after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday, the 2nd of July, right before the 4th of July holiday. I've got Andrew and Tillman sitting there in the side wings there, just waiting to jump in here. They're a little wild this morning. I'm going to give you guys a heads up. They're a little wild, so, brace yourselves for what's coming. As always, hit the thumbs up, hit the like. You can follow myself, TXWest Capital, there on X. You can follow Andrew at AP_abacus, and you can follow Tillman there. And please follow Tillman. He needs followers, guys. He's really slacking here. So follow him at at Texas OL61. I can see the guys in the back there just laughing along with this I'm talking about here. And real quick, before we get going here, guys, listen, over there at the Trading Academy at TexasWest Capital, head over to members.texaswestcapital.com. For the first time ever, I'm following these guys. They're doing some free stuff for you. So we've got a 3-day free trial now. So you can come in and check out our stuff and see if it fits along with, what you're expecting and, with you before you, really kind of pay to be a part of it. But we are doing amazing. Got lots of stuff going on. So jump on over there, members.texaswestcapital.com. And now if you guys are ready for this, I'm not sure you are ready for this. So go ahead and hit the share and the like and all that kind of stuff. Share that link before I bring these guys on. So that way you're committed. All right. We'll do it 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's bring the guys on here. What's going on, Mr. Andrew and Mr. Tillman?
That is such a power trip where he just basically just keeps us waiting in the wings while he just continues to go on and on. I mean, what kind of host does that? Where you can launch the podcast with all three of us on the screen at the same time. That's not one of the options.
Guys, as per Chris, please go follow Tillman. He needs followers. Okay?
Follow him.
Listen, if too many of you follow me, I'll have to delete my account. So that's a fair warning.
Let's test it out, folks. Follow it. Let's see if he really deletes that account.
No, what he'll do is he'll put a lock on his account. And he'll put a lock on his account. He'll make it private. That's what it'll do.
It's not for the masses. It's just, I can't take the criticism. The trolls get to me.
Did you say the trolls get to you?
The trolls get to me.
Come on, Andrew's got all the trolls. Man.
I have such dedicated reply guys. I'm not kidding you. There are like 5 or 6 guys that every single post that I do, they have. Now I've muted most of them because I never respond, but it never ends. I mean, it just. The level that they're committed to replying to anything I post it's admirable, to be honest. We are absolutely pumping right now. 109.4 and change, 109.5 now. Holy smokes, we are popping.
We are. Yeah, and you know what? It popped exactly where we were looking for. We talked a few days before where we were looking for it to pull back. Came off right exactly in that area, popping out. And just so everybody knows, my target now with this pullback and this completion here is 123,564, right around there for this next wave up. Ultimately, going up around 128,271 for a fifth wave.
I just entered my profit target, so if it doesn't hit those exact numbers, I know where you live. That's part of it.
Come on down, man. Good luck getting in through the garden. Come on down, man. Maybe coming through the lake. I live on the lake, so you can come in on through the lake.
Listen, I've got the aquatic stuff. I can come up submerged, with the respirator and all that stuff.
And I'm going to tell
anything else you need to share, or are you just too busy? Why are you playing?
Hold on. I got
blast.
We're above 109.5, so this is what I got for you.
Oh man!
Come on, baby! Come on, light it up! This is man, it's a good time. It is. we're in Bitcoin crypto renaissance territory. We just absolutely are. There are things being built. You know, a Solana staking ETF just got approved today, and it's taken off. The ticker is SSK. Volume is already over 20 million. It'll probably hit 50 million today. For context, a previous Sol ETF on day one, ticker SOLZ, their day one volume was 1 million bucks, right?
1
So
million
to 50 million, you know, massive shift in how people view crypto, how people engage with crypto, what's being built in crypto, why, visibility, all of those things. It's an extraordinary time to be involved. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah.
I saw you were going to say something there.
No, I think everybody has been waiting for this next price discovery phase. And it seems like it could be upon us. We sure are testing a lot. And typically, in my experience, the longer you test without breaking, the more likely it is that it does break. The test where it kind of flies up to it too quickly and then doesn't bounce around up there. those are, in my experience, the ones that don't actually do, or maybe do, but have a little bit of a head fake and come back down and retest. This one feels to me like we could see some real price action.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I teach a lot at the academy is about the idea of these retest of specific areas in terms of where volume is located and not at price levels, and how it doesn't often usually go through right away. It'll pop up and it'll test it multiple times before breaking through, and then it breaks through impulsively, and usually after that it'll come back and retest. But depending on how long it's been going sideways there, it may not come back. We saw that around 24, 25,000.
Yeah. So, these notions of us never seeing, 5-digit Bitcoin again, they may be upon us, because I think this.
Say that.
I do want to say it because I'm tempting it to go back down so I can buy more. These moments, I'm pissed that I don't own all of the Bitcoin that I've ever owned. Like these are the times where I wish I had Arch Public's algo back at the beginning of my Bitcoin journey. Boy, was I smart. I timed those markets perfectly, Chris. That was so smart of me.
Well, as a reminder, guys, July 4th holidays come up, Independence Day here in the U.S. America, right? People are going to come back on Monday without as many fingers and toes as they left with, unfortunately. U.S. markets will be closed on Friday. For all intents and purposes, the markets just kind of languish sideways through this week when the holiday's on a Friday anyway. But what's still open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Bitcoin.
The markets that never sleep.
That's right.
The new future financial markets. And you know what? I think Bitcoin does really well over traditional holidays because everybody's at home and everybody's talking to their family members that have Bitcoin, and they all get the FOMO and they all finally pull the trigger around the Thanksgiving table. At least that's my experience.
I don't know. I think that's been maybe in the past. I'm not so sure that starts holding up, from here going forward, because so much of the Bitcoin, that was back, when, of course, the retail was the big driver of Bitcoin price. But now, man, we got, these companies coming in. I mean, the title for today was public companies are buying up more Bitcoin than the spot ETFs for 3 consecutive quarters in a row now. As a matter of fact, Bitcoin, let's see here. Public companies grew their Bitcoin balance by about 18%, while ETFs showed about an 8% increase in the same period here recently. So, the biggest buyers continue to obviously be, much more significant than retail anymore. So I don't know if that's going to work anymore, man. I don't know. I'm
Well,
curious.
I think it's just kind of and both. I think the more buying pressure that we see from all directions, I still think retail will eventually make a play in this cycle, and I think that probably will come from a stronger Bitcoin dominance number, probably some cannibalistic capital coming into
Yeah.
Bitcoin from other altcoins that are not doing as well or don't have as seemingly bright of a future. Like the fact that Litecoin still has billions of dollars in it. Think about that. I mean, what are people doing? And so I still think there's going to be influx of capital on the retail side, specifically from the crypto bros. We just I don't think we've seen it because Bitcoin's been a little bit boring compared to the last cycles. You're not
Yeah.
seeing the $20,000, $30,000 days anymore, and we would see those back, when the price was small. We don't. I mean, we get excited about like $5,000 moves now. $5,000 against $100,000 price tag.
It's
That's
5%
nothing
damage.
compared to what Bitcoin used to do. I mean, are you kidding me? I remember days, and I don't remember specifically, but there were days where we moved, 40, 50% in price movement. Where that today would be like us going to 150 tomorrow. Can that still happen? I still think Bitcoin has that potential. I do think it'll have to be a movement of sorts, not so much the institutional buys, but more of like the retail stepping in and going in unison. Let's buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah. And so, the other thing, I guess the other big thing here is right before the show, I saw online there a link about the fact that IBIT is bringing in more than the S&P 500 ETF that Fink and them have.
The
And so you're talking
BlackRock,
about the fastest growing ETF
that
in history.
particular headline is BlackRock is making more money in fees from their IBIT product than they're making on their S&P 500 product, and that's an extraordinary moment. If you're wondering why Larry Fink has become the CMO of Bitcoin, if you're wondering why he's the latest, Bitcoin televangelist, that's the reason why. Follow the money, pure and simple. If you're wondering why he thinks it's going to 500 to 700K, that's the reason why. Follow the money. We're in a spot right now where, again, in 2 years, we will be able to go back to some of these shows and realize that we were talking about at some point Bitcoin is going to become the base layer for an absolute Disney World of carnival rides associated with additional products and services. And we're on the precipice of that, right? So the head, whatever his name is for housing here in the United States, Pulte, right? He says, you know what? Bitcoin's going to be considered an asset associated with lending, and we're going to codify it associated with Fannie Mae and the like.
Well, and the word is collateral, right?
Yep.
They are recognizing Bitcoin as collateral, and let me tell you, that is a monumental thing. And let me
It's
give you an
huge. Yeah.
example of how big it is. As established as gold is, you can't put gold into a mortgage as collateral. There is no bank right now that you can take gold coins into and say, hey, if I let you hold these in your safety deposit box, can you give me a loan against them? They'll look at you so cross-eyed it won't even be funny. They have no box to fit you in when you're trying to use gold as collateral. Well, guess what? They just recognized Bitcoin as collateral. Does that tell you that Bitcoin may have some utility? Yes, it does, because collateral absolutely is utility. And
Still
that
a
is
fad, right?
what?
Still a fad, right? I mean, I still hear people saying that.
Well, it's
Bitcoin's
not
a
even a
fad.
fad
Come on.
anymore. It's like that you can say it's a fad, but the people who really beat the drum of that Bitcoin has no utility. Well, tell if something it carries the status as collateral in a loan, that is by definition utility. Utility is a function that has value attached to it. Well, collateral is the function that has value attached. Well, literally by definition, collateral is value attached as a function of a loan as some loan to value ratio, right?
Yep.
Every single loan has a different loan to value ratio depending upon what the collateral is. Bitcoin is now shining as the preferred collateral, which means that if you talk about the future of what Bitcoin has going for it, you're talking about a preferred loan status. You're talking about the easiest loans going to people who pledge Bitcoin as collateral, the highest interest rates being paid out to people who pledge Bitcoin as collateral, and they're very well maybe a shift. Like let me pose a interesting concept to you. Like Andrew, you're going to want to pay attention to this because it's your favorite subject. Okay, so get your pen and paper out. The attractive thing about whole life insurance is the fact that you can borrow money while it still remains actively producing yield. So your borrow rate is, let's say, 8%, but your yield rate is 8%. So it should be, in a perfect world, a net zero loan. That's the purpose of that vehicle. Well, let's say Bitcoin becomes collateral in a way where you can borrow against it and still get paid. It's a net positive collateral situation. No different than what Elon Musk is trying to do with cars being shifted from a liability to an asset. If you have a car that sits idle 75% of the time when you're not using it, and you could put it to work in the form of an automated taxi and earn income that exceeds the cost of the debt attached to that vehicle, you have shifted the entire automobile industry from a liability type asset model to a asset based type model or a cash flow positive type model. That's monumental shift forward in automobile ownership. That's what he's doing. Well, Bitcoin does the same, but for money, which I would argue is even more valuable to humankind, because now you hold collateral that is so precious, that's so sterling, that all other collateral, including land, is inferior. Every other collateral is harder to collect upon default, doesn't preserve its value without maintenance costs and ownership liability costs that are attached to it. Like there, you cannot compare anything against Bitcoin as a better piece of collateral. So I think there are very bright days ahead for people who have Bitcoin that want to borrow against it without selling it. And the performance of Bitcoin, if it remains true, is going to make that debt look minuscule in paying it back. Wait 4 years and you're paying it back with a quarter of your stack on a 90% loan to value ratio. Like it's going to be very, very compelling. Andrew, did you catch
Yep.
all that? I know your
Yeah.
silence is telling me
So
that
here's
you're
the
hard
thing,
at
like,
work.
there are comments that come in on the show and stuff. I would give anything if somehow the people involved in the show could also post comments and pull them up on their version of the screen, right? So during that portion of the show, my comment would have been, I'd like to unsubscribe from this podcast for the next 90 seconds.
Listen,
That
you
would have been my
worked
response.
up to a punchline that was meh. That wasn't
Yeah,
good.
no,
You had a lot of
unsubscribe.
time to
Yeah,
prepare for that, and it was not very good.
Unsubscribe.
I need to
Unsubscribe.
continue to go on my rant for another 45 seconds and let you continue to think on what your response should be, because that was not impressive, Andrew.
What is impressive is, and listen, I am, nobody's more comfortable in talking their own book than I am. And I just watch this price action and I think of thousands of people that are using our tools, right? Institutional level tools. we've, set out to give people the opportunity for free to use our tools as, because price action is just remarkably unpredictable. There are very, very, very few people, if you were to cast a net globally, that could have figured out that after the price action yesterday or the past 3 days with Bitcoin shuffling from 108 down to 105, that would have thought, you know what, today I think it's going to pump to 109.5. I think that's going to happen today. And our Arch Public tools, buying at 101, buying at 83, 74, 77, 78, 97, 98, and now we're at 109. It's just, to me, it's just really fascinating to be involved, one, in an industry that does things that are unpredictable, and then it's just something even more remarkable to be involved in something that is able to sort of lasso that unpredictability and turn it into value on behalf of users and clients. It really is. I will add that not everybody knows this because, as per Chris's first thoughts on the show, Tillman doesn't have many followers, but Tillman is the brain trust behind the products that we've created. Tillman is the brain trust behind how do we create something that is an institutional level tool that has infinite versions of a Swiss Army knife. You want to do this, do this. You want to do that. And it's you have access to it and you can do whatever you want with it. And to do it for free. It's just, taking a moment as we watch again Bitcoin go higher for no reason whatsoever. It's literally July 2nd. It might as well be July 4th today. There are nobody in traditional markets even at work today, literally nobody. And so to have this price movement happen and to have tools that bought at 101, and my guess is that we're going to see some exits that are small portions of that position that were bought at 101 to generate cash yield at 109. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And by the way, those two things are happening when people are potentially at Disney World or on their way to their July 4th vacation or on a plane or sleeping. It's really something to watch. It's a credit to the work that Tillman does. And, just wanted to make that known here on the podcast.
We've been doing this for just over a year now. I don't know that I've ever seen you say something so kind about Tillman. And did you see his face?
He did it because I know we're at all-time low viewership right now. If I could see the viewership, there's probably 28 people watching. So that's exactly what's going on.
We do have kind of a low viewership right now.
I know. Trust me. I am well aware of Andrew's operation, modus of operandum. Yeah. No, I appreciate it, Andrew. Here's the truth of it.
Guys.
Being in the space, I've made all these mistakes. Yeah. The mistakes of thinking that the market responds to me watching it is a human phenomenon that can't really be explained. We think we're God at some level. And so when we sit down at our computer and we go, okay, it's time to trade, we expect the market to know that we're in the driver's seat and it's time to trade. And guess what? It doesn't give a rip when you're watching it. It doesn't care anything about you. And the only thing it really cares about is being accurate reflection of supply demand in the moment as humanly possible. And that's what an efficient market should be a reflection of. And so when you see July 2nd and the market moving wildly in price, that's to be expected. Why? Because most people aren't at their computer on July 2nd right now. Most people are gearing up for July 4th weekend. There's fewer traffic on the highway. So it's easier to move the price when there's fewer cars. The price is more fluid. It can be more easily manipulated by the big boys. But to Andrew's point, the reason why the tools are so good is because you don't have to sit there and watch the market. It's that the automation has the rules that you've set into motion in place. When the market presents those circumstances, it takes advantage, and it doesn't deviate from that. So there's no emotional convincing you of like, oh, this is the time. Like, if I used to be this guy, and so I'm telling you from experience, days like today, and my gut tells me it's this. I'm still that guy. I just have learned to shove that person way down deep. But I'm still the guy that woke up this morning and I've been watching the price action, and the price action's just been bumping its head,
Leaving this
just
hanging.
coiling up, and I've been going, this is the time, this is the time. Well, I'm more convinced now. I mean, if there was a time in my old days where I would be pulling leverage down to buy big leverage positions, right now would be the time. But that's bad advice. That is bad behavior. That will get you burned. And so what do? I do nothing, because I've already done what I need to do. I have my fishing poles in the water, and all I have to do is let them take care of themselves. And so guess what? When we go up on a big pump like this, you should see some sells in your
Yep.
portfolio. You should see some take profits. You should be clipping the entire way up. If you think you're going to time the very top bar of the very top candle of the very top wick, I've got a bridge to sell you. That's not possible. And even if it was, to do it consistently would not be possible. And so what you need to be doing is looking at, okay, what's my ratio of dry capital to invested capital? And where am I in the cycle of taking profits and staying committed to pulling more money off the table as that price goes in your favor? To me, that over time produces the best results with the least amount of stress. But it also doesn't give you the juice of driving the Porsche 911 GT3 around the track. And so you just need to go do that instead of trying to get those
Well,
jollies while you trade.
here's the thing. So we see all the comments that get posted, and there's a comment that says, "Can we get through the infomercial, please? This isn't Scott Melker's channel." It's not an infomercial if the product is free. You such and
Listen,
such.
no,
It's a free
listen,
product, man.
here's the
Go
reality,
try it.
guys. We're passionate about it. With the three of
Yep.
us are traders. Chris literally lives this every day of his life. If you don't like the content, then tune out. I don't know what else to tell you. We could be talking about all sorts of stuff. We could be talking about guns. We could be talking about cars. We could be talking about tools, all sorts of things. And those are things that we like. So
Well, I'll tell you though, you brought up a great point there, Tillman. Though, you said, you know what? And today I feel like I probably still am that guy deep down inside. And I think that's really an important point to make for anybody that's in markets, right? Whether you're trading, whether you're investing. I think there's a bad a misunderstanding that goes around with retail traders that thinks, oh, well, if I learn these things, then I'll be different. I'll be different. No, or I won't have emotions. If I learn, what's coming with emotions, then I won't have emotions. I won't be emotional in my trading. That isn't how it works, guys. Again, I've been doing this is 31 years this year. I still can get emotional. Okay. That's what makes us human. These things like being emotional and whatnot, these are what make you human. These are great things. The only thing you're trying to do as a trader is to understand that that's going to happen, to understand what triggers you, and then to understand how to set a plan to deal with it when it happens ahead of time. So you're not trying to deal with it when it happens. If you try and deal with emotions, whether it's in trading or relationships or your job or whatever else, if you try and deal with emotions at the time that they happen without a plan in place, and especially if you get very, very emotional, guess what? You're not going to have
let's call it
success.
what it is. Emotion is a word that I think people toss around without really understanding the context of what that means. We're all junkies, is the way I
Yeah.
look at it. We're all drug addicts. And when you find yourself entering a trade feeling that juice that you know is about the juice,
Yep.
you're making bad decisions, because that is emotion. That is what that word means. So when you feel that junkie waking up in the middle of the night going, oh, there's the perfect setup, that is the guy who you can't trust behind the
Yeah.
steering wheel. That is the guy who you have to protect your wallet against, because that is the emotion that Chris is talking about. That is what emotion looks like as a trader. It's that greed and fear. It's the
And,
both sides. It's that I'm gonna get rich side, and it's also the I'm gonna be real poor side. Those
yeah.
both,
And
those are
you won't get rid of it, right? I mean, it'll always be there. Again, the key is to understand that it will, to understand what triggers you and how you generally react. And that way you can put a plan to place together prior to it happening. So that way when you feel those emotions come, when the triggers are happening, if you don't have your plan memorized and in there, you look at your plan, you go, these are the steps I need to take. Because guess what, guys? If you're in the market, you're trying to make money. Making money is a hell of a drug. It is a hell of a drug, because you can change your circumstances from absolutely whatever they are today to something much better or something much worse.
Especially in crypto, because here's the thing. Even if you are the best trader in the world, it is physically impossible to be the best trader ever in crypto. Why? Because it never turns off. At some point, you have to go to sleep, or you got bigger problems. And so, having access to tools, that's the only way you're going to meaningfully thrive or survive in this space. That's just a reality.
And stick around the next 10 minutes. We're going to cut our shoes in half with a free set of knives that come with our software. They are the sharpest knives.
Man, now that's some age right there, referring to the late night knife selling infomercials. And if you buy these 5 knives, you're going to get this knife.
You're going to get this knife for free.
And you're going to get this bonus
pair
knife.
of scissors that can cut through the hood of your car. Let me show you after we return.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes, this is what happens when you got older guys on here. Man, we're going to bring you guys the 80s, man. We're going to bring you those late night infomercials, because we lived through it. We lived through it.
All you have to do is pay the shipping and handling,
That's
like
right.
Mark said. That is all you got to do.
Juicer's coming next week, Bernardo. Juicer's coming next week, man. But yeah,
man.
Tillman, Andrew, these guys, they aren't wrong, guys. We're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about Bitcoin. What's going on there, Andrew?
I didn't notice that Tillman has crested more than 2,000 followers at this point. That is
he was 1,400 something last time I looked.
That's a significant high water.
That's what the XRP community will do for you. They are strong.
All you had to do was speak at the conference, huh?
Yep. Listen, John Deaton, he has a very, very good reputation in that space. And if you get on stage with him, evidently people will come and follow you. So I'm getting close to that, deleting my account number. So
you're going to become a KOL just like Andrew before you delete your account. Don't lie.
You don't know me that well then, Chris, because I will run the other direction.
He slipped up and said that he can't handle the trolls. It affects him too much emotionally. He can't do it. He can't handle it. So no training will change that. I'm just telling you, he can't manage it.
I mean, I'm so adverse to them. I've given our product away for free just so that I can stand on the top of the mountain and shout down, it's not an infomercial. That's why it doesn't phase me like it does Andrew, where you go download it if you want, don't if you don't want to. It's as simple as that. All I can tell you is it's a tool that was built off of all the really expensive mistakes I've made. So
there it is, right?
If you want to avoid those without learning them yourself, then you might find value there.
And that's what the three of us do. I mean, y'all have Arch Public. You've got a great product there to help people kind of DCA into, into things and arbitrage, trades and stuff like that. I come up here and I teach people, listen, if you want to learn how and why markets actually move like they do, rather than, for instance, the pullback today, right? Same target. I gave that target days and days ago. You know what the news headlines are for why Bitcoin just pumped up today? Because of the $33,000 or 33,000 job pullback there, which has been the greatest miss or greatest pullback or whatever since 2013 or 23 or 2003, whatever. But what I'm saying, though, is, people will come up with the absolute most asinine news headlines because they feel like they have to have some news event for why it happened, rather than, listen, prices moves through liquidity cycles. It moves. And we're not just talking about the big, whatever you look at M2 or global money kind of supply. We're talking about where the liquidity sits on the charts, and that's what we're doing. Whether it's through your algos, whether it's through the way that I teach, that's what we're doing. And, the idea is to hopefully help people, not lose as much as we've done in the past, learning these lessons that we've learned.
So, something we've talked about on this show a lot, and it just popped up on my feed. So I can't take credit for this, even though I can take credit for the quote from 18 months ago. This is 18 months ago, and this is something that I said. This was a post that somebody is linked to that somebody posted at the time. It was October 24th of 2023. And it was the quote of the day yesterday. So obviously it was the 23rd this was said. I said, the guy who was kind of in charge of seismic shifts is telling us that a seismic shift is coming, and they're acting on it and creating an internal product to benefit from that seismic shift, right? So that was October. The Bitcoin ETFs were approved January of 2024. So prophetic or not, it's proved from a pricing standpoint to be the truth. Bitcoin was around 40K at that point. And, again, from time to time, I'll talk about don't get bored with Bitcoin price action. And this is the reason why. 18 months ago, it's in the 40s. A year ago, on July 4th weekend, it was at 55, 56. It's now at 109.5. So getting bored with price action, getting bored with the narrative, getting bored with the shift that's happening right now.
I haven't done the adjusted math, Andrew and Chris, but prior to this cycle, every other cycle, 80% of the price movement happened in 10 days out of the year. So, it's easy to get bored because, 355 days out of the year may be boring, but that's why you should get tools that help you play the chop, because those 355 days a year are still exceptionally volatile. They're just going sideways. They're chopping. And so if you can harvest that volatility during those periods and build a base of ownership for the long-term, 10-day price appreciation period, you're going to end up, in my experience, exceptionally happy. Not financial advice.
Yeah. And I keep saying, there's going to be this thing, 10 years from now where people are going to look back here and earlier, and they'll either be one of two things. They'll be like, damn, I was thinking I should have got into it and I didn't, and I wish I had. Or damn, I'm glad I got into it and came up here, right? I mean, still the big thing today is, Bitcoin's 100,000. I'm not going to make all this money on it. Well, God, guys, just what? Couple of years ago, Bitcoin was down there 16, 17,000. Guess what, folks? If we hit 160 or 170,000, which is a very good likelihood for this cycle, here later this year, I mean, that's a 10x in a few years.
You're not here's the thing that people need to shift their mentality towards with Bitcoin, in my opinion. Stop thinking about the number as the price of a Bitcoin. It's a simple equation. It's a simple ratio. You have 21 million on the bottom in the denominator. You have the number of dollars printed, not just in the US, but across every country. You have the fiat global M2 money supply in the top. I can promise you that the numerator will grow indefinitely. Whether it's the dollar failing and a new fiat having to inflate to be the world reserve currency, or it's the dollar remaining in that supremacy and inflating to grow into the development of the global economy. There's new technology that's bringing new people, there's new growth rates, there's new developing countries. All of those things require liquidity. They're printing money for that development. They're not just printing just to kind of stabilize they're going, how much can we get away with printing because of the GDP growth globally that we can kind of buy into? And that's a number that with AI and crypto, that's going to be a very large growth potential. And so what does that mean? It means that we're going to get to print for a long, long, long time without the quote ceiling being hit. And that means Bitcoin is going to keep going up until we stop printing. So place your bet. Stop on the printing presses continuing to go up, not on Bitcoin's price going up.
Chris, you should pull up you should pull up that tweet that I just put in the private chat. Pull it up from Joe Carlos there. It is another version of being prophetic, because back in November of 2023, so just a couple weeks after the quote that I just talked about, he put out a tweet that said everyone should be prepared for a world where even at 100K plus, the vast majority of academia, government, financial media, and even your family and friends will ignore, ridicule, and dismiss Bitcoin as irrelevant. Well, he updated that post today. He linked it and he updated it, and he said, everyone should be prepared for a world where even at 500K, the vast majority of academia, government, financial media, and even your family, friends will ignore, ridicule, and dismiss Bitcoin as irrelevant. And that is true. That's the case. Think about it this way. Even with, the Luke Skywalker or Jedi or Yoda, whichever one you want to use, the penultimate character for Star Wars, in Larry Fink being the great prophet associated with Bitcoin now, even that has not materially moved the needle across pop culture, right? Bitcoin searches at all-time lows, yada, yada, yada. So again, even though in our bubble, we can't get out of our own way in terms of price action and response and news stories and this happening and that happening. The truth of the matter is, the age-old quip of "you're still early." We may still actually be a bit early. We may still be a bit early here if we're going to 500, 600, 700K, which is where Larry wants it to go.
Let's talk about what's early. When did Larry start promoting this? What was the price? 50,000?
40,000 and then 40,000.
So we're at 100,000. You think Larry got in for a 2x?
No way. No way.
He didn't get in for 2x. By the way, that's Nasty Pool cutting me off in the middle of my punchline. That's
man, I thought, man, you dropped that like that was
there,
way too.
Chris, that's really
perfect.
Dirty stuff.
Chris and I play on the black edge. Okay, we go out and find that dirty edge, and when
hey, dude, don't be pulling me into this.
Yeah, when we're ready to move on from your commentary, we just go in another direction. We mute you for a minute, right? Or we zap your Wi-Fi. Okay.
It's all right. I understand. You have to. It's you have to maintain KOL status at all costs.
Oh man! So somebody somewhere is going to just get this part of the podcast and believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm proud of it. I am proud of it. Okay.
Those are the people that are following Tillman here recently on his on X. Those are the people they felt bad for. They're like, "Ah, poor Tillman. We need to follow him." That's what
when I have to, fight back and show supremacy, I have to just start talking about how the fact that, Andrew came to my crypto club and would pull his really expensive cars in front and take 16 years to get out so everybody saw him in his car. But I introduced this guy to Bitcoin, and look at him now. He's a full-fledged
That's the truth.
Bitcoiner. And that's what happens when you introduce people to Bitcoin. You can't shake them. They keep just coming around with their nice cars and talking down to you, and it's one of
Well,
the
now we got the true
byproducts.
story.
Well,
Yeah.
when I'm talking about not getting bored with Bitcoin, not getting bored with price action, not getting bored with narratives, people will. And by the way, there's a great story, or at least there was a great post about it, about a guy like Chamath, who's a very, very, very well known venture capitalist, and on the
He's
All In
smart. I
podcast.
like him.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. But here's how he's not smart. If he'd have just stuck with his initial investments that he was, an angel investor in, he'd be worth more than $30 billion today. Okay. But he didn't. He did a bunch of other things trying to be smarter than smart. And now he's worth $1.5 billion, let's call it. All right.
But that's
So
the story
that's
of
the whole
every
point.
successful person, because you have to try a lot of things, and a lot of those things are so risky that you've got to have risk parameters that you can pull the chute on at some point and maintain enough capital to keep trying things until you hit it. And you can't look at that 30 billion potential and think you're
Not
going
a
to hit them
potential.
all.
It's in real time. It's in real time. So the early investments he did in like Uber and Facebook and something else, if he had just held on to those and not done anything else, and not got away from those and cashed out and sold here and sold there and did this and did that, he would be worth 30 billion as opposed to $1.5 billion.
I know, but my argument is the type of guy that can get into deals like you're talking about at those early stages has a risk profile and a certain makeup that precludes them from being Warren Buffett's, where they just sit and hold stuff for a long time. Like he's a
Sure.
trader at his heart. He's a deal trader, and
No, I get that. I get that.
and
I'm trying to give
wish,
reasonable advice to the listeners of this show. Okay?
Yes, do as we say, not as we do, because
so they don't veer off into weird lanes like Flare and Oingo Boingo and Peepcoin and all sorts of weird stuff that'll just ruin your life. I mean, it will just ruin your life. Okay,
don't get mad because Pepe on Solana has a lot of potential. Okay.
Yeah, I loved those phone calls. Hey, man, you gotta get off Pepe on Solana. I'm telling you, man. This guy's talking about it. Dude, it's going higher, man. It's going higher.
That's like social engineering. If you can catch the social wave, Trump coin was that way. I got into Trump coin early.
That'll be on so many headstones at their death. If I could have caught,
listen,
if you can catch.
Listen, you understand this as much as anybody. Sometimes you just got to drive a fast car, and it's true. Just part of the nature of human beings.
That's the reason why. And here we go. We're on Kraken now. We offer Bitcoin, Solana, ETH, XRP, and now SUI on Kraken. And by the way, you have the ability to use our tools across those types of symbols in tax advantaged ways with qualified plans, IRAs, SEPs, all of that stuff, self-directed 401ks. So we are now partnered with Directed IRA to be able to do that in a tax advantaged, tax-free way along the way. So, continued expansion and continued opportunities for people to use our tools, not just on Gemini, but now on another exchange. There are other exchanges coming and additional symbols coming throughout the summer.
Man, I'm glad you went on with that, because I was about to mute you when you said, that's why we're on crack. And I was like, man, we are not doing that here. So I'm glad you went on with crack again and continued on with that. Again, and that's a good thing. Again, guys, listen, I know there was the little comment there about infomercial earlier, but at the end of the day, whether it's coming through, TexasWest Capital, my company, or going through Arch Public, their company, or, even through both, the idea is to help you, because the fact is, if you're thinking about, or listening to either one of us, you're probably already in the market or you're thinking about getting in. And, when you first get in, there's no greater, kind of reality than you don't know what you don't know. And here you've got three guys here who've created a lot of content and a lot of, product and whatever that, together have, well over 50 years of market experience. And so you get to, if you listen, if you humble yourself and say, okay, maybe I don't know what I think I know, and you listen,
I'm here for the I told you so's. Don't humble yourself. Just go make the mistakes, and I'm going to shout in your face, I told you so. Listen, the market makes a fool out of all of us. I had a customer tell me this one time. He said, I don't really need any of this software stuff, man. I know when to buy. I was like, oh, really? When? He said, oh, I buy just when Michael Saylor buys. He's the smartest one in the industry. He's buying. So he's obviously doing all the research to buy. I said, he's buying with debt that's attached to the share price. And the multiplier that he gets on that debt is the amount of purchasing power he has. So he's only buying at the tops because he has the most leverage at the tops. Are you buying the same way, or are you just buying the tops? It sounds like you're just buying the tops. That's the worst place to buy.
And I hate to cut you off here real quick, man. I just got a notice here. Ripple seeks a U.S. banking license.
Of course.
Weren't we talking about that, not too long ago?
Yeah.
Yes, we have multiple times, and it's not a surprise.
I put a post out this morning because there was another banking license headline before the Ripple one earlier today. I just put crypto and then an arrow, banks, and the arrow should have gone both ways, because banks want to get into crypto want to be banks. It's all playing out in real time.
Yeah.
And look at all the Robinhood stuff from a couple days ago.
Yeah.
All that Robinhood stuff from a couple days ago. If they would have announced all of that stuff that they announced 2 days ago, 2 years ago, they would have received 7 Wells notices from the SEC. 2 days ago. Okay.
Easily.
But they were able to do it yesterday, and they were celebrated, and their stock price went to new all-time highs. Yada, 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 because regulators have gotten out of the way. They're off the chessboard right now, saying build, 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 and build it here in the United States. And we're all about it, right? What's interesting, though, about that is, let's say 2 years ago, didn't it feel like, per the whole meme coin movement, that there was a whole lot of scamming going on? That doesn't seem like it's happening right now. It seems like all the headlines and all the action and all of that stuff, the cream has kind of rose to the top. Am I wrong on that? Doesn't it feel like
we already had that?
It was
cycle.
Disproportionate back then, and it's now disproportionate to the other way.
I think we're living in the wake of the meme coin rise that happened there right as Trump took office. The money was flowing at $23 billion a week on, and a lot of people got burned during that time period. And now I just think there's just a lot of bodies in the water, and nobody's been able to reinvigorate that market again, because it's been so fraught with scammers. I don't think anybody who got into that, and including myself, understood how the game really was being played. And there's been some documentaries that have come out that have highlighted how it was played, but a lot of even the celebrities like Kendall Jenner, they did not know they were launching a coin. They were duped into making some tweets that were interpreted as them endorsing the launch of their own coin, but they didn't know what was actually taking place, because the scammers had essentially created a false narrative for them to believe that, in a lot of cases, it was a real close truth.
That makes sense, because that's kind of how I felt when you called me about Pepe on Solana. I was like, this. I feel like I'm being duped to tweet this.
Listen, Pepe is a household name, and you never disrespect Pepe. Okay, Pepe has made people hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
So
It's
Pepe has fed families, is what you're trying to say? Pepe is feeding
Pepe is
families?
up there with Dogecoin. It's immortal. It's made it past meme status. Is all I can say.
I don't know, man. That's almost sacrilegious for people that have been around with Doge, for 10 plus years.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, well, let's just look at the market caps. When it has a big B behind it and a double digit in front of it, it's here to stay. But to your point, Andrew, I do think that people were burned, and they didn't realize that the sniper bots that could instantly buy up the supply under 1,000 different wallet addresses. So it looked like there was a lot of participants, like they were hiding the concentration of the control of the supply. And that's dirty. That's that the whole point of the blockchain is to have public ledger. And so that created, I think, a lot of damage to that particular space.
Well, and that's the reason why we definitely. That's why we Bitcoin.
I still can't figure out whether you're good for Bitcoin or bad. That's the one thing I'm still.
I think Andrew just is. He just is.
That's right. That is right, Chris. Andrew just is. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's just more fuel for why Bitcoin, right? Again, Bitcoin's going to go up higher. You're going to make some money on it. Are you going to make 100 times? Probably not, but you're going to make some money on it. But more importantly, it's this protection against the fact that the printer keeps printing, guys. And if you're upset because you don't feel like you have much, that's all the more reason to protect what little you believe that you have. And I think, unfortunately, with the mindset, it's the wrong way, right?
Again,
the less people have, the more they think about they need to get as quick as possible versus protecting.
The narrative, though, of we're at 100K and you may not get at this X or at that X. We were saying those things at 20K. We were saying those things at 40K. We were saying it at 60K. So I just don't know.
I sold I rode from $80 to $1,000 Bitcoin and thought I was a genius, an absolute genius, thinking the $1,000 was the holy grail price of Bitcoin. This is going to prove to be a mathematical exercise, whether we like it or not. It's following a perfect power law curve. What does that tell you? 16 years later, it tells you that it's perfect supply demand economics. It's perfect math. And that means that more money comes into the universe because man prints more money for power purposes, and Bitcoin's price is going to go up. Period. The end. No different than the way Rolex mastered supply demand economics and why all of their watches hold a lot of value, because they don't go out and pump supply beyond the demand. They know how to build demand, and they know how to do it at a very quick pace.
There is taking a look at price action and where it goes from here, taking a look at price action, where it's been and why. It's extraordinary to think that not only we've been on this podcast, but we've been in this space for these periods of time, and just every single time from a cycle standpoint, it's just higher. The same kind of narratives exist, the same kind of what ifs exist. And through those narratives, and by the way, those negative narratives and those negative what ifs, it's just higher. It's just higher every time through each cycle. It just is. So as Andrew just is, Bitcoin just is. Okay. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh. The
that's just the truth.
narcissism,
You
just
went third
that.
person right there.
Listen,
Just like
I've
that.
tried to teach
Narcissism has a lot of ises in it. So I don't know.
I
Maybe
tried
it's
to
not as
teach you how to
negative as you
hide
think
that
it
characteristic of
is.
you because it's off-putting. But you haven't mastered that yet.
What's strange is like for my anniversary with my fiance, she gave me a card that says Andrew just is. I didn't take that all that well at the time, but maybe I should adjust the way that I think about it.
That's called
Chris, what do you think?
groupthink. There's a term for that. I learned about it in college. It's very dangerous. It's actually started some of the world wars. Is like a group of people that support a crazy leader because they all buy into the craziness. That's a very, very dangerous scenario.
Well, to Tillman's point about 80 bucks to 1,000, like no question, you feel like an absolute superhero. So how do people feel right now who rode Nvidia from 100 billion to $1 billion valuation or $100 billion valuation to being one of the first and few companies at a $1 trillion valuation?
There's only one term that I can point to that describes that. It's they're high on their own supply, and they are thinking really high of themselves.
NVIDIA has gone from being a $1 trillion company to a $2 trillion company to a $3 trillion company to on the precipice of being a $4 trillion company. So that's kind of the point. To Tillman's point, you're a genius if you rode NVIDIA from 100 billion to a trillion and then you sold. But now you're an idiot because you missed the next trillion and the next trillion and the next trillion and about to be the next trillion.
Well, that's like what you just said about what's his name? Golly, he missed out on 29 billion. Yeah, but he's got $1.5 billion. I mean, how much happiness does he lack because he's missing the 28 billion? None. Because the 1.5 billion buys all the happiness that you need, and then some.
Hey, don't tell me how much happiness I need.
You don't need any more than $1.5 billion, buddy. If you had $1.5 billion, you'd have 95 yard mowers out at your house mowing your grass every day of the week down to its very nubs. It'd be bad for you. You'd have burned up grass.
His lawn would be his own private golf course, and it'd be mowed every day.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I'd be okay with that. Wouldn't have to go down to the course.
Indeed. I completely agree with you.
Oh man. Hey, listen, guys, I appreciate you as always. Sorry for missing last week. For those that don't know, wondering why we didn't have a show last week, I ended up hurting my back and ended up in the ER on the Saturday prior, and I was out until Thursday and just started coming back. So,
that was Tillman and I. We had a chat about that. Touch the banner, play like a champion. That was kind of soft on your part. You weren't here. I mean, just.
If only we could have launched the podcast without you and made fun of you behind your back. That would have been.
And now you know why you can't. Now you know why you can't. Control freak. I got to have control. I got to make sure y'all aren't talking smack about me when I can't talk back. But anyway,
enjoy the holiday. Enjoy the holiday, Chris.
Yeah. Any big plans for you guys this weekend?
I'll show you my plans. Let's see if I can do this.
Can you do it?
Well, I'll sit here patiently waiting. And then
I don't think I can flip.
The last time he did this on an internal team call, the phone turned around. It was just his bare feet. That was the last time he did it. So I'm hoping it doesn't work, to be honest. I'm hoping it doesn't work.
Well, it must be true because he's laughing pretty good there.
No, it absolutely is true.
I'm at my desk, so I'm not in my lounge chair. Sometimes I do my calls from my lounge chair. No, but we're just going to hit the lake. We're going, we'd like to go out and play Sweet Home Alabama and watch the fireworks and.
Do you say America a few times?
We say America a few times. You know, my wife got me and my boys all matching America polo shirts, so we'll be sporting, you know, the uniforms and all that good
You're
stuff.
going to be those people. Okay. All right. What about you,
Yeah,
Andrew?
we will be. Yeah.
Same thing. Some fireworks. I actually got an outfit. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Will Ferrell, Will Ferrell in one of his sketches on Saturday Night Live has a pair of American flag Speedos. So I got some of those. Going to spend some time at the country club in those and a little half T-shirt.
Listen,
that's how you do it right there.
I've had to have an intervention with Andrew several times because he's so committed to the KOL thing. It'll be 109 degrees outside and he'll be wearing that black hoodie around. So
yeah, that's right.
We need to get our friends together and stage a real intervention and force him into a more colorful summer-oriented outfit. You know,
Get him an orange one. He needs an orange one.
Black is outdated, man. We need vibrant colors. Look at this hat.
And there you go. All right. Well, hey, listen, we're going to get out of here. Thanks again for showing up as always. Thank y'all for joining in. Again, hit the thumbs up, hit the likes, share the link. Guys, I warned you before we came on.
That's the song we need to be playing today. The price is pumping, baby. Let's go.
All right. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Be safe if you're here in the U.S. especially. Come back on Monday with all your fingers and toes.
This is driving Chris nuts. He hates not having the official exit with the official.
As
you can
always,
only lose as much as you. The only thing you control is how much you can lose. I'm going to get the final word in here. So I'm Chris. I get to leave.
I hope y'all have enjoyed this. This is what you guys are paying for. So.
He gets to lead us in and he gets to take us out. No deviation, Andrew. Don't talk during the exit, okay?
All right, we'll see y'all next week. Have a good weekend, everybody. Be safe. Take care.
See ya.